What's going on, guys? I hope you all are doing well this afternoon. I know it is the weekend. I usually don't do these, but I wanted to do a quick update. Yesterday we did break out of this descending broadening wedge that I had stated a couple days ago, which is it's a very good bullish sign. Now, given it is the weekend, this could be an issue for me. Potential breakouts, fake out zone. Okay, so why do I say that? Well, price action is super thin in the weekend. So order books are super duper thin, so any whale can come in and completely just wreck the trajectory of the market and literally change the direction of the market for at least a week or even to a month or so. Just got to be careful with these situations. There are a couple telltale signs that I'm looking at. Personally, given that it is the weekend, I like to do the 4 hour at the very most. Or at the very least, I'm sorry, in regards to finding a base of new support. So essentially here, my indicators are giving me some sell signals right here. So I did take profits off of some of my NFT collections. I did sell for some essentially stable coin, and yeah, I'm waiting to buy back in at a better price. But anyway, yeah, I did close some of my long positions as well, so that's another issue. I'd spoken with you about that. Now that there is a breakout here, so I am potentially thinking about deploying, but I have to see a few things. I need to see this right here flip as support, or I need to see this dump kind of dragged out and eventually lean back all the way to this area where there's a bunch of confluence, essentially this zone. Right around the high 1480 zone range for Ethereum. Now, currently, my moving averages here are getting tested. And as I stated prior, I am getting arrows to the bottom. And if I zoom in on the 1 hour, there's definitive resistance already here. And as you can see, the Bollinger Bands are going from green to red. That's not good. And price is hovering below the moving averages here. The moving averages have flipped to resistance. And with a pretty definitive line of resistance here as well on the top side from a 1 hour candle close perspective. Now, to me, it makes so much sense to eventually retest the 618. Now, if the 618 is retested, then broken, that would indicate that this support line was not valid, which would then, to me, it would hint that we'd come back all the way down to the supply line area. Most likely, in my opinion, we'd kind of break back down and maybe test the 382 at some point. But to be honest, I mean, the way that the market is going in terms of trajectory, we do have a pretty significant instance in our hands where if we're able to essentially bounce off of this downward sloping green line as potential new support, then we can then give another shot to the 1618 zone, which is pretty much near 2K for Ethereum. Now, there are a couple things that need to happen. We need to ratchet up support essentially, because even on the 1 hour, you can see we had a low, and then we had an ever so slightly higher low right here. Now, can we create a higher low instance somewhere around here? That would make the most sense from my perspective. Retraces usually do end up happening at the 618 zone, so that's why this could get dragged out for a while. I'm telling you right now, this could get dragged out. Where it would make sense to me is basically 9 days of like sideways and down, which is actually very good for the altcoins. I'll tell you right now, because when Ethereum and Bitcoin and all that kind of stuff, when they go sideways and down, the altcoins just rip. So I would keep my eye on altcoins. I know Solana has been pumping today. Matic pumped yesterday. So there are other like mid to low caps that are randomly popping off, usually due to like news events. There's hype within the communities, so there could be some micro events of like some serious pumpage going on. So I'd keep my eyes on that if you're more so interested in altcoins and small cap coins, mid cap coins, all that kind of stuff. But going back to Ethereum, the second in command to this crypto market, I see significant support here, frankly. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a retest right here of the 786 to then break above the 1668 Fibonacci mark. And usually when that happens, it's parabolic to the upside until the 1618. That's a tough, tough sell. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm kind of looking for. I'm seeing similar scenarios, kind of like what happened over here to over here. That's kind of like what my short-term type of history is giving me. It's giving me hints of that. It's not going to be, completely like just an elevator shot all the way up to 1.618. It's going to get, pumpage, then you're going to see an anomaly, higher high, then kind of like a reconsolidation back to this line, and then kind of come back up. That's what I'm going to see. And, from my perspective is what I can foresee happening. Now this could take an entire week really to fulfill, but ultimately I do feel that we are still in a bullish mode. Even the wick high is above the previous wick high. So there are instances, scenarios, I mean, that can lead to a larger reaction to the upside. Now, uh, that's my assumption that price will eventually consolidate and come back down and retest at the 0.786. There would be, in my opinion, some traditionalists, traditional traders, setting up some limit orders right here. So that's why I can imagine there would be a halt in the dumpage and a consolidation to then rip back up to the upside. So that's kind of like where I'm coming from. But also an invalidation point is if an hourly candle close breaks above this red line here. If the bulls can retake and break this downward trend, then you could definitely expect this to kind of never get tagged, and we just continue higher until we'll see. But there are other things that are happening in the indicators from my perspective that say that, yeah, it's about time that we're about to cool off. So usually we tagged the top side here. We are coming back down, and now a trajectory from a macro perspective, just even on the 1 hour, I can go back to the 4 hour, is we are kind of creating this downward trend. Okay, so we could see, and we did have this long-standing resistance. It made more sense on higher term time frames, but we had this long-standing resistance right here. So we could be creating some type of like wedge, which is, this is bullish actually, to then popped back to the upside. And usually you see huge events happen when that happens. But anywho, sorry, I got a message. All right, so back to it. I kind of got a little distracted there. Alrighty, so I'm gonna turn that off right there. Gonna go to back to the 4 hour. But yeah, so why I'm a little bit bearish as of now is because we were seeing a couple things. Let me zoom in here just so you can get a better understanding of where I'm coming from. Okay, so we had a high, then a low. Here we had a low, then a high. That is divergence. So that divergence played out, we dumped, that's exactly why I closed my longs here. Then we had a cross. We not only had the cross, but then we had the breakout pump to the upside. Now, I didn't long here. I could have if I was feeling a little risque, but I wasn't really. Now, I usually like to long back tests. And from this instance here, we have an opportunity for a backtest. Now it's going to take a couple of days maybe to really get a better understanding of what's happening within the charts. But from my perspective, I do see some similarities from here. As you can see, we got two yellow arrows right here. We got two yellow arrows right here. We even got a couple arrows right here. And guess what happened? We dumped like 4% minimum. So that's what I'm kind of expecting right here. It's to some people that's marginal, to others it's pretty substantial. I mean, 4%, 5% is like pretty intense, especially if you're doing it on a daily perspective. Some stock traders, they hold assets and they're only making like 20% a year, you know what I mean? So if you can get 5% in a day or 5% in a couple of days, it's pretty substantial if you really stack it up and compound from there. But as you can see here on the 4 hour, this candle here is really important, because if it breaks below this line here, which is the slow moving average line, that to me is going to make me feel even more better about seeing prices come back down to 1,560 zone for sure, because there's so much confluence here at 0.786. And yeah, there's also some forms of support right here, but ultimately wicks do happen. and yeah, you could overextend. So that's why I do feel at some point this could get back tested. Now, not to the dollar. It could get front ran. It can go a little bit lower. Obviously, it's just you know, it's variable, of course. But given that this was long-standing resistance, and and like I didn't even um, make these lines myself. I used this touch point, to create this topside line. But like, look, if I zoom in here, look what happened here. We're getting initial resistance, and we're actually got a lot of volatility, and we got a back test here at 0.786, and boom, it pumped to the upside. Now, given that it is the weekend, people are taking profits. Obviously, we hit the 1.68, right? So I do feel that we could come back down. Now there was some buy pressure right here. So we could ultimately try to create a higher low instance right there. So I mean, there is still hope for the bulls to turn this into a bull flag and, rip again to the upside. That is on the table. But, I like to be more so conservative, especially because it is the weekend and also we are in a bear market. So I like to lean bearish or neutral as opposed to bullish and neutral at this time. So yeah, just wanted to give you my mindset in regards to my logic and everything like that. But going back to it, a key factor going to the 4-hour, which is a more substantial standpoint, is that we had a high and then a low. And here we got a low and then we got a high. So we're compounding bearish divergences here. That is not good for me. That's why I feel even less confident that this could even hold support. That's why I want to see. I want to see it. I want to see a bounce and then a bullish engulfing candle, and then I'll consider entering this market again. But as it stands here, we still are above the volume weighted average price here, this VWAP, this anchored VWAP. So that's bullish for me. And we still are above the supply line right here, this thick yellow upward sloping line. Ultimately, I would not be surprised if we eventually came back down to 1,400 to test that. There's a lot of confluence pretty much at 1,400, but there's even more confluence here at 1,450. So from a bearish scenario, and I do feel that we are kind of teetering on ending this pump here. I do feel that ultimately we could break down a little bit and it could get dragged out for a week or so to then ultimately establish a higher low to then pump to the upside. We do have a supply line right here that we have established. I believe it was on the hourly, right? Yes, so we do have a standpoint on the hourly where we do have a long-standing support line here. So as time goes on, this bottom event here just becomes that much more sustainable. But ultimately, if it is broken, it's going to lead to a substantial dump to the downside. But yeah, I'm going to go to other indicators to give you a base case as to why I'm a little bit more bearish as opposed to bullish. So here we can see we have a sell signal right here, sell signal, last sell signal. We also have a curving on the stochastic RSI. On the MACD as well, we do have a high, then a low, and it kind of does not correlate with price on the 4-hour. We do also have a pretty obvious divergence. Yeah, we have a low. Yeah, we have a low, and then we have a high. We have a low, then we have a high. We have a high, then we have a low. Okay, so we're seeing substantial divergences happen over here, and if I go to the 2-hour, which front runs, the 4-hour, we already have a cross, and we got a sell signal. So that is why I am more so bearish at this time. Also, going to the TSI. The TSI is a slow-moving average. It is a slow mover relative to other indicators. So on the 2-hour, we're already getting sell signals. On the 4-hour, we have yet to confirm it. Now, the 4-hour is more definitive in my perspective. So if we were to see the 4-hour flip bullish to bearish, then I'd feel that much more confident of either closing out. Well, I've already closed out my positions. I've already said that, so I feel pretty confident in this. In seeing cheaper prices for Ethereum. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'd feel that much more confident in keeping, my money on sideline as opposed to throwing it into the market due to what I'm seeing here on the TSI as well. Also, volatility is at a pretty substantial point here. It looks like we've kind of peaked out already, so we are going to see some consolidation. But yeah, usually when it pumps to the upside, that just means like a strong move is attempting to happen. So I like to front run the 4 hour with the 2 hour here. So when I saw that cross right around here, I knew that we were going to get a pump to the upside. But as I said before, I don't like to, unless I'm scalp trading, I don't like to hold positions. Like if they're inside patterns, I like to see the pattern break out and then continue forward. So that's kind of like what I'm doing. I'm kind of keeping true to myself in regards to that. So I saw, this is a descending broadening wedge that broke to the upside, so that's bullish. But I want to see it back to support. And once I see that actually fulfill itself, then I'll play in the game. But right now, it's just a wait and see period. I mean, you could dump all your stuff and you could short it or whatever, but like I feel it's not 4%, 4.3 is not bad, but given to what I'm seeing on the upside. So if in fact we see a double tap of the 786, that is 26%. I'd rather play the odds of the 26% than the 4%. That's where I'm coming from. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I just want to say thank you so much. If you're still here, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, if you haven't liked the video yet, please do so. Share it with your friends if you think this is valuable. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.